Namaste. This is Astik, an English language teacher and teacher educator. Dear friend, I'm back again. I'm back to you with a video, very short video. It's all about interpretation and summary of a poem called The Unknown Citizen, written by W.H. Auden. Okay, so let me go ahead. The poem, The Unknown Citizen, written by W.H. Auden, is satirical in nature. The poem actually came into existence just before the Second World War, that's in 1939. The poem celebrates its magnificence, the poem celebrates its clarity in thought, the poem celebrates its boldness in irony that's targeted towards the bureaucratic society, or let's say the bureaucracy of northern Western societies. That in the poem, the writer talks about the ejaculation of the erosion of individuality, or declining of declining of the thought, the progressive thought of the modern people that they claim themselves to be advanced, educated, sensible, and sincere. Writer, the poet W.H. Auden makes a question. Makes a question is not the question that is targeted to the bureaucracy, targeted to government. Rather, the quality of the question implies that what was the status, what was the condition of Dothan society, the young generations who were claiming themselves to be educated, to be advanced one. So the poem is not only the poem is not only a kind of expression. It's not only uh, his intention, his expression. Rather, the poem celebrates its success in touching and targeting the 20th, early 20th century, or let's say mid 20th century, the Western societies, generally the common people, that how common people is treated by the state, by the government. Here in the poem, the writer begins with a monument, marble monument of an unknown citizen. The unknown citizen is not named though. He doesn't mention any name at all. Just he mentioned when he died, he was pointed, he was identified in the graveyard with certain symbol, certain number that begins with JS slash 07 yum slash 378. So this is the identification code of the individual. Name is not mentioned. So this says, from this we can guess that uh, that kind of monument, or that kind of identification is actually used in the first century. Sorry, used in the first during First World War or Second World War when the army died. They were engraved somewhere in the graveyard with the numbers, because there was mass of people, mass of youth who died in the war, and it was not possible to identify everyone, and then given the name over there. So just they were identified certain numbers, symbols, and then that was placed in their grave. That's all. So that happened to the army, that happened to the youth, that happened to the battalion who went to war and died over there, who didn't come, who didn't meet, and who didn't have lots of details about the families at that time. The world had not gone digital, So it was difficult to maintain the data exactly, correctly, and meticulously. So that might be the possibilities. But in the poem, the writer doesn't talk about any of such personal. It talks about a very simple-minded, a simple person, a factory worker, huge a company or something. There was company where he worked. There's a man, he's represented in the poem. The man who is represented in the poem is just a factory worker. Very simple. He leads a very simple life. He has been led, he led a very simple life. He was the example of, he was a paragon of, sincere and sensible citizen because he paid all the taxes to the government. There was no complaint at all against him. That was the case. That's very interesting point. Second interesting point is that the place he started working continued or retired from that place uh, after long interval. I mean, the long duration of service in that company. So you can understand working in a private company and not kicked off during the whole working span says that what kind of gentlemanliness that he had, what sort of gentlemanliness he had, that he was never kicked out, he was never blamed, he was never accused of anything. So you can understand his simplicity, you can understand his gentlemanliness, you can understand his sincerity and devotion towards the word. That's interesting fact. Second, he was sensible, and sensible in the sense that uh, he he kept, I mean, he got on with all the world affairs. He was updated. He bought the newspaper every day. He was a regular customer of newspaper. That very clearly says and that shows he was, up to date. He had all the information about the world affair, what happens in his society, around his society, or around the globe. So he was not unaware, rather he was very sensible and very sensitive towards the world affairs. Third thing, he was healthy. He lived a very simple and healthy life. Someday, during his working period in the company, he was admitted to the hospital, and then he came out after getting cured very soon. So that was just a minor incident or minor cases. This shows that how health conscious he was. You can understand about that. Third thing, you know, third thing, he was not very far from the modernities. I mean, he was, he maintained the modern lifestyle, modernity in the sense that whatever the modern people should have to lead a very perfect life or to lead a very common life, he enjoyed everything of the other societies. Like he had a radio, he has phonograph, he has refrigerator, he had car, whatever one required at the time to maintain the social status that he had. Fifth thing, personally, he was very nice guy, very nice person, social person, sociable, had a good relation with maximum people, his colleagues, his juniors, his seniors, his factory owners. I mean, everyone in the factory or in his working place, he was liked. He was likable. He was lovable. He was kind of humorous nature. So everybody praised him, loved him, and liked him. Fifth thing. Sixth, uh, he was, he was not in favor of war. He had always stood, he had been always against war. So he didn't have very much positivity towards war. But when it was a matter of the state, when it was matter of the country, he went for the war. So he was quiet. When there was peace, he turned violent during the war. So this shows that he had a kind of patriotic feeling. We can understand the degree of patriotism in his heart and mind. A man working in the factory, never liking war, but ready to fight war for the country. So we can understand that the sense of patriotism he had developed for his country. All right. Then personal life personal life when we talk about his personal life, when we talk about his family life, he was married, he had 5 children. So when we talk about 5 children, a man, a simple person working in a factory, having no extra income, no high paying job, having 5 children is really bad. He was not sensible in that case. But that's not the case. That's not the case. Actually, that was very much desirable before the Second World War or after the First World War. The state wanted the people to have more and more number of children because they needed an army to fight to wage a war. When one state waged the war, they needed an army, and then that was desirable. So 5 children in a family is not an exceptional. That was common. That was not bad. That was desirable. That was good. That was exactly what the state wanted people to have. So, in every respect, there was no any comment, no any question. But the poem at the end, last, raises two questions. The question is, was he free? Was he happy? That's very sensible, very, thought-provoking question. How can man be happy who has done nothing in life? How can man be happy who was not honored, not respected, not regarded by the state? Throughout his life, he paid all the taxes, he obeyed all the rules and regulations, he followed the rule, he was abide by all the rule and regulation of the company. I mean, legally also, he was perfect example of sincere citizen. There was no question. But that itself is a big question. How can man be happy without raising a question? A question that was to be raised, that need to be targeted or pointed back to the state, to the government. The government just makes the population, the government keeps the population the data. In the eyes of government, in the eyes of state, the people are nothing. They are just some total of, some total of goods. They are some total of the number of the people. That's all. The state doesn't count, doesn't take into consideration, doesn't take the people into consideration. They think they are meant to pay the tax through which or from which the state is run or state runs. That's all. So can man be happy? One who keeps paying all the taxes, right? But at the end, he is identified with the symbol. He is identified with the number in the graveyard. No honor, no respect. How can man be happy? Was he born just to live for the state? Was not he born for his own personal sake? Where is the individuality then? Where is personal life then? Where is his personal self then? If the individual, if the citizen, if the person, if the man means he is born to live and is born to die for the country, getting nothing from the state, that's really, a billion worth question. A man cannot be happy. At the same time, the question is there, was he free? If he were free, definitely he would have raised the question. So, the then government, the totalitarian nature of government, the autocratic government, the fascist government, the government having supremacy over the people cannot don't allow the people to be free. The government want to lead a life. The government continued its rule, continued its system, yeah, just to maintain its name, to keep its existence, keep the country or the nation in existence. It disregards the common people. So how can one be happy? Even the last stanza gives the data. I'm reading it out. And our teachers report that he never interfered with their education. I repeat, our teachers report that he never interfered with their education, right? So, what kind of education was there that he never interfered? He was educated, he got education, but did not interfere with the government, did not interfere with the teacher. So, he had raised a system of teaching, he has raised the system of instruction or the schooling also, the family schooling, the social schooling, and the schooling he was brought up, that he has to accept everything what he was given. He didn't have right to raise a question. Yeah, he could not get education he wanted. He was imposed to sort of kind of education. The education was that he has to be quiet. He has to pay the tax. He has to live for the country. He has to sacrifice whole his life for the state. He should not raise any question. That was the ideology he was taught, and he was educated with those principle and ideology, right? The poem ends. If he had any question, definitely he would have raised. So how can you say that he didn't have any question? Those a person, and not any person, all the person, all those person who lead a life without raising question towards the society, towards the system, towards the law, towards the constitution, right? Cannot be the point of satisfactory over there. They must raise a question. Is the question raising ideology that tells he is alive, that tells they are alive. Those who raise the question prove that they are true citizens. They are true citizen of the state. In total, or let's say above all, we can say the poem is satirical. It's a mock eulogy. It's a mock eulogy in the sense that generally eulogy is a speech given at the end of life or at the funeral ceremony. But mock sentimental or mock eulogy is kind of funny. Is a kind of satire to the system. Here the person is not dead. The system is dead. Uh, the man has not died. The individuality, freedom, and the personal self of the common people have died at a time. And that's the main issues of the poem. Thank you. Namaste.